All right, it's Anthony Bandiero here, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training, bringing you another roadside chat. I got an odd one for you, but I'm going to try to answer it the best I can. This officer is retired out of New Jersey. He moved to Nevada, and he has an issue with some of his neighbors allowing their dogs to defecate and urine on his plants. And it's causing issues. One, the urine is killing his plants. I understand that. And also, some of his neighbors are not picking up after their dog. He put up no trespassing signs, and he wants to know what can be done. Are those signs legally effective? Now, this officer did attend my trespassing webinar. I do have free webinars on Wednesdays, usually about 6 p.m. We'll hopefully work on those times so more people can attend. 6 p.m. wherever we're at. And he wanted to ask this question, but didn't get enough time to ask it because there's a lot of other people on it. And the point is, these webinars are free, so just kind of a little plug for that. So he was on the webinar, wasn't able to ask his question, so I'm going to try to help here. Now, at Blue to Gold, we pretty much focus and concentrate on search and seizure issues, but I feel for this guy, so let me see if I can help out a little bit. Number one, let's talk about criminal violations. Could it be strictly speaking, right, a prima facie case to allow your dog to go onto other people's property and defecate and urine on their, to pee on their plants? And the answer is yes. At the end of the day, trespassing is where you're not allowed to be on other people's property. You have no invitation, express or implied. So what's going on here is that this is a private lot. This is not a dog park. This is not Walmart, right? This is a home, a front yard, and would a reasonable person believe that they would have the right to enter that property and use it as a litter box? And the answer is no. So some states would likely consider that a prima facie case for trespassing, especially when you have the signs up there. Now, I'll tell you a better case is when you go onto Amazon and buy that little sign that says either pick up after your dog or no dogs on grass, something like that. That would definitely even indicate a more clear sign that you're not supposed to be there. Okay, so let's say that we got past the hurdle of trespass, criminal trespass, that we can make the argument that by doing this, it's potentially criminal trespass. And I think that it is an argument, right? I mean, let me look at it this way, or look at it this way. What if a human being, not the dog, but the dog owner, went onto that grass and defecated on the lawn? Do you think that your law would potentially criminalize that behavior under trespass? Potentially. Now, there might be some other things going on, right? Indecent exposure, disturbing the peace, right? Something like that. But do you think that also could be a trespass? I think the answer could be yes. Okay. Here's the problem. Number one, officers are obviously not going to have the time, inclination to take enforcement action on something that's kind of relatively minor in the big scheme of things. They're going to use their discretion and just try to treat this as all other neighbor disputes and try to get people to act mature and just do the right thing, right? And that means that people walking their dog need to pick up after the dog. So if we know who the dog owner is, the cop goes over there and says, hey, look, you're not supposed, first of all, that is not your property, right? You don't have a right to use that person's lawn, as a litter box. The fact that you did is one thing, right? But you're not even picking up at the dog, and it's causing conflict with your neighbors. So the least that you can do is to try to mitigate what's going on here by picking up after your dog. Can you do that, please? I think if you did that, you probably won't hear anything else from me. Well, if the person is like, that's BS, or the homeowner has this person on their cameras, routinely allowing the dog to defecate on the lawn and not picking up after it and so forth, that could be a decent case for some kind of trespassing issue. The other issue is a defense, right? So even if we charged the person with allowing their dog to defecate on the lawn, what the homeowner is going to say is, Your Honor, how am I going to stop this dog from doing it? I don't control this dog to that degree. It's trained, but ain't trained like that, right? I can't just point to somewhere and say, go right there. So, Your Honor, I have a defense of necessity. Yes, I guess this object, this dog is part of me. It's an extension of me and my control and so forth. But I had no choice. I couldn't just rip the dog off the guy's lawn. It wouldn't be right. It's not how dogs operate and so forth. And some judges would obviously entertain that. However, if the dog owner is not doing anything to pick up after his dog, then of course, maybe that defense is not that compelling. You're going to find very few cops out there that are going to take enforcement action on this period. Again, the most they're going to do is to try to get people to get along and to try to get voluntary compliance. So what's the other alternative? The other alternative is to go to civil court, to file a tort claim against the dog owner. And strictly speaking, that might be the better option, because most jurisdictions do not, the mens rea, right? The mental requirement here is just that you allowed your dog to do it. The dog is part of your property. The dog went onto somebody else's land, which they didn't have permission to do that, and they, did their business, and you kind of go from there. That's trespassing, plain and simple, especially when you have no trespassing signs and so forth. The problem is that you're not going to get any money from that. Not with those facts, not the one-off, right? Not the here and there type of incidents, because there's no real damages. Maybe you get $1. But you're like, Anthony, $1 is better than nothing. But here's the other problem. Who is going to pay your attorney? Most courts in America are not going to have the defendant pay your attorney's fees. It's called the American system of law. The American system of law is that we pay our own attorneys, unless there's an exception. And that's going to be one of the biggest barriers here, because lawyers are not going to take this case for free. You're going to have to pay them. And it's going to cost a few $1,000s. Now, maybe a cease and demand letter could work, right? You maybe pay a few $100 for that. But if you actually want to take somebody to court, you're going to have to pay your own attorney. And if you win, you're not going to get much money. And you may not get any money, but maybe you get an injunction. And the judge says, hey, if you ever have this, if this happens again, you're going to have to pay him, $500, right? Something crazy like that. Maybe that can occur with the most extreme cases, but that's where we're at. I think that the best way to handle this, and I hate to say this, is to put up a small little gate fence, around it, your property. You've seen this, just to have like a barrier so the dogs just do not come on your property. That's the best way to do it, is just kind of preventative maintenance here. But if you really want to, show people who's boss in your neighborhood, sure, you could file a civil action against the person, maybe a cease and demand letter. That might be the first step. All right, but you have options. I can't believe that in my career here, I'm talking about poop on people's lawns, but I am here to help. If you like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, share with your friends. And until next time, my friends, make good case law and stay safe.